Yes, yeah, well. Dear participants of the NICE International Scientific Conference on Sustainability in Energy and Environmental Science, warm greeting to you all. Let me congratulate you the beginning of the conference. The subject covered today relevant to the entire world due to the large-scale Russian invasion of Ukraine. I wishes all fruitful work and a peaceful sky above our heads. Our section will be moderated by lecturer at Lviv Food Technology and Business Professions College of the National Food Technology University, Miroslava Popadinec. Please, Miroslava.
Thank you, Dr. Popadinec. And before we start our section, I would also like to extend my greetings to you all, to thank you all for your eagerness to participate in this conference and to encourage you to share your thoughts and your ideas, some recommendations and your vision of the future developments in the areas you will be covering and presenting to us today. So I hope we have a fruitful discussion. And I would also like to remind you about our timing. We have to stick to our conference agenda and schedule. Please, our speeches have to be up to 10 minutes. And then if you have some question, please ask them. So we will proceed with our first speech. It will be delivered by Turkan Sheidai Ali. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing it. Please correct me if it is wrong. And the speech will be a model for forecasting environmental problems arising because of oil and gas industry. Please, do we have Mr. Ali? Miss Ali? Please, if we have Turkan Sheidai Ali, can we hear your speech and please share your presentation? Okay, I think we have to proceed with another one. So the next speech is presented by Taras Shuplat, Composting and Eco-Technology for Municipal Solid Waste Management. Please, Mr. Shuplat.
Good day.
Good day.
Are you see my presentation?
No, we can't see it yet. Please share it with us.
On the all ekran?
No, we can't see it. If you have some technical problems, you can try to share it from our.
I know. Are you see the presentation?
Yes, now we can see it, yes.
I see that, yes?
Yes.
That's all right. Good day, dear organization, administration, and friends of scientific friends. My name is Taras Shuplat, and I present the Department of Environmental Safety of University and my friend, scientific friend with University of Environment and Ukrainian Forest University and let I take result our joint study. See slides. One of the most global and dangerous of the environmental population problems of Ukraine is a problem which generation accumulation household waste. Correct waste management is important to create stable and livable cities. Throughout is remained a problem for numerous developed countries and many cities about Ukraine. Correct waste management is important, a very big ecology problem from Ukraine. Slide number 3 shows the compression ratio properties in the strategy of municipal waste management in Ukraine and countries in European Union. As we see, there is a complex opposite of organization approach if in the countries of European Union and Ukraine. In European Union, foreground is prevention, preparation for roads, recycling, edge for energy, recovering and disposal on the territory. And in Ukraine is основним elephant of the in Ukraine is disposal on the territory, edge of energy recovery, recycling, preparation, and prevention. In addition, the structural composition of waste is diverse. According to the general statistic is in our figure. Organic waste make approximately a half of all produced in the many cities in Ukraine. Organic waste deposit cause the greatest effect on the atmospheric air, as that's one. At the first stage, which characterized by short duration in the underlayers and landfill under anaerobic condition, the process of biological destruction usually develop generation of the considerable element, the intermediate and other product of anaerobic destruction. Food production, soon stable amount which the gases is and emission into the air. As a result, is a process in the air of release the many pollutants as carbon monoxide, sulfur oxide, nitric oxide, ammonia, methane, and many other pollution. Only one of this is methane dynamics. On the during 1990 and 2016 years, we can see on this picture. Very big problem is fires on the landfills. The statistic on the 2020 years said that was 501 big or small landfill fires in Ukraine. It's a very big problem. Only very big problem is filtration, які landfill filtration, key application considerate resource effort means that's it's a very big problem in Ukraine. Considering consist in organic waste is very main reason for generation of filtrates in the landfill. A very big problem is food waste disposal creates forests receive the saprophagus. There is a considerable number of certain species of synanthropic species of entomofauna ornithofauna at the many landfills from Ukraine. There is the ecological is economical optimal biotechnological is composting technological. In Ukraine, the first station there is this eco technology is already mentioned is in Lviv at the organic composting station at the Plastova Street. At the first stage is three studies composting in this station. Let me introduce on this picture. This eco-technology is already mentioned from these pictures. At the first stage, organic waste that leaded into special container for disinfection. Fade sterilization is carried out during 72 hours at 72 degrees Celsius and provides bacteria killing and remove various odors. At the second stage, organic waste is collected into hearts, pillars, which the aeration by specialist equipment, moisture and processing by morphobiologic preparation. And the three stage, the development composting is arranged through specialized equipment to separate great fraction, which can be used as the natural bacterial preparation for equipment or other piles. We can see these studies on this picture. Determination of composting process influence at atmospheric air was carried out according to certain indicators, a measure of which are done by a stationary post on the air monitoring located at the border of buffer zone of composting state on the Plastova Street. During the day, all day, the equipment analyzes the content by nitrogen dioxide, carbon monoxide, sulfur dioxide, ozone, nitrogen oxide, hydrogen sulfide, ammonia in air of city Lviv. Measuring results are publicly available at a website to the company. Indicator which is the most favorable for the composting according to the sessional period from 20 May to 20 June 2021 years. The result of ecological monitoring are present in table number 1. Consider range the change of concentration of nitrogen dioxide, sulfur oxide, and ammonia in the air at the border to the buffer zone is a consequence to their emission from composting process. Nitrogen dioxide and sulfur oxide are products of anaerobic biodestruction of organic substance. Excess of nitrogen is in composting is accompanied by its emission into the air in the form of ammonia, which is produced as a result of microbiological destruction of the organic substance. Excess of the ecological standards for the studies air indicators are at the border to the buffer zone was not, so it's very important, was not detected. And result of concordance analysis of heavy metals in compost, in ready compost, are within the permissible standards defined by Ukrainian fertilizer standard. It's very, very important. Compost containing heavy metals with lower amount than fertilizer requirements is environmentally safe for the soil. Organic waste composting at the composting station in Lviv has insignificant effect to the water basin as generation filtrate is transported by sewage net to treatment plants in the city. Thus, with conduction analysis of composting technology on a certain component of the natural environmental, which is practiced in Lviv, defined its significant ecological risk. We recommended intensifying the introduction of this technology in structure of the waste management in Ukraine. And some conclusions. Ecological risk defined ecological aspect of waste management technologies, organic waste disposal at the landfill, which function violating international safety requirements, create ecological risk for all components. Practice of organic waste disposal at the landfill of Ukraine is environmental hazardous for the natural environment, and thus composting technology is environmentally safe in the organic waste management. Composting in Ukrainian cities can significantly minimize the environmental risk for landfills and city Lviv. Thank you very much. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you for your speech. Maybe we have some questions.
Зараз. 1 minute, please.
No questions?
Yes. I write to this question. My name is Natalia Stoiko. I write. Maybe what are your benefits of using compost?
Thank you very much for your questions. Compost is characterized by a high content of organic matter. It's very, very important. As well as a much of microelements and many micronutrients. The application of compost improves soil structure, prevents erosion, and very importantly, compost can replace inorganic fertilizer, which are used in the large question in agriculture activities, agriculture process. Therefore, composting application is being promotion as alternative to heavy chemical fertilizers.
I understand. Thank you very much. I understand. Thank you.
Thank you for the questions.
Thank you. Maybe some more questions?
Maybe.
Okay.
Yes. One question in the. May I ask the two the questions of two?
You have some questions in the list, yes? Please read them.
Answer. Composting of organic matter is necessary measure of the sustainable of the management strategy. Physical and chemical properties, many agrochemical parameters, chemical parameters. Compost of Lviv city agree with the requirements of the Ukrainian standard for fertilizer formed from organic matter. It's the current of organic matter, the basic micronutrients in compost is significant to increase soil productivity. Thank you for questions.
Okay, thank you for your speech and for your answers.
Thank you.
My colleagues tell me that we have now Turkan Sheydai Ali with us. If that's so, I would like to ask you to present your report. No? Okay, then we proceed with Natalia Stoiko. who will be presenting us integrated approach to land management with self-sowing forests in Ukraine.
Hello everybody. You see my present?
Yes, we see your presentation.
Okay. And now I must. Okay. Now it's good.
Yes, it's okay. You
Okay.
can make it full screen or not, either you wish.
I not make full because in my. Okay, maybe now.
Okay, let it be like it is.
Okay.
Proceed.
Thank you. Okay. We present results with my colleagues from the National Environmental University about integrated approach to land management with self-sown forest in Ukraine. The goal of the research is to discuss the benefits which self-sown forest on agricultural land can provide for ecosystem and communities in Ukraine. Particular attention is paid to the scientific concept which can be applied for managing lands with self-sown forest to achieve the sustainable development goals. I'm sorry. Today, important task it is to achieve an optimal balance between the humanity demands and the nature potential. And the goal 15, the concept of sustainable development, aims to protect, restore, and promote sustainable use of terrestrial ecosystems, sustainably management forest, combat desertification, reverse land degradation, halt biodiversity loss. Forests provide many ecosystem service. Forest is a multifunctional ecosystem of dry land which positively influence the process of air purification and soil formation, regulation of climate and water streams, reduce of risk of natural disasters, and support sustainability of communities. It is a recent decades, Ukraine has experienced the phenomenon of self-forestation of agricultural land, and the forests are cut down. What we can observe when comparing space photos of 2011 and 2009. Self-forestation of land, agricultural lands is considered violation of the land legislation in Ukraine. It is use of a land plots with violation of its intended use. However, the situation conflicts with the task of achieving the sustainable development goal 15, which aims to sustainably manage forests, to expand the area of forest and natural resource territories, to reduce the area of arable land. And another problem is self-forest is that many self-forested plots are privately. Self-seeding forests are neglected and often set on fire. And
Dalia, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but we can't see your slides moving. We can only see the first slide.
wow. Now?
Yes, now we can see. Thank
Maybe
you.
oh, sorry, because my full, okay, maybe I might,
No, you can now proceed with showing your slides.
okay,
Yes, okay.
okay,
Thank you.
okay. And other problem is that many self-forest, this is Many self-forested plots privately and self-seeding forests are neglected and often set on fire. And the soils these areas have low fertility, small content of humus, and these areas sometimes have soil erosions. To get information on using self-forested agricultural land, the authors of the research made sociological interviewing in October-November 2021. In total, 400 residents of Volyn and Lviv region we were asked. The respondents were divided in two groups. The first groups included 200 people who owned agricultural land plot, and the second group 200 people who did not possess any land. Each group consisted of respondents of different age. And our research shows that there are people who want to own self-seeding forest. Most of them are young people. Is one more argument in power of the self-sown forest protection. Self-afforestation happens naturally, same natural forest regeneration. Such forest ecosystem will be more resistant to negative natural phenomenon and more valuable for the territory biological diversity. And authors the research proposed a conceptual base for protection of self-sown forest on agricultural land, which is founded on the integrated approach to land use management, including political, financial, technical, social support for introduction of better practice of sustainable land. Assessment of and monitoring of the practice of sustainable management of land along with other information create a basis for identification of the kind of land use, which should be focused by the stimuli. Forest or mixed, for example, agroforestry or pastoralism and other use. It is important to motivation landowners and land use to make change in the use and management of agricultural land. Such motivation can be grants, subsidies, privileges, and non-financial ecological education, public participation. And this slide you can see conclusions and what we have tell about finish our research. We think the research finding of practical importance they can be used while development of complex plan of spatial development of community territory. Partiality is deals with a decision concerning the intended use of land, specification of the territory for restoration, afforestation, naturalization, and reclamation of degraded land, or other natural ecosystem development of measures of protection of land, water, forest, and other natural resources, and creation of ecological networks. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, and thank you for complying with our timing. Do we have any questions? Tatiana Detsko, yes, you have a question, please.
What are the most valuable ecosystem functions of the forest as for you?
Thank you very much. For me, I think it's supporting and regulation. This ecosystem service is more good for ecosystem.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Some more questions?
Okay.
No more questions?
Yes, for me.
Yes, okay, please.
Okay, it's my topic.
Yes, please ask your question.
No questions. My topic. My topic conference.
You want to proceed with okay.
Yes.
Yes. Then thank you, Natalia Stoiko, very much for your speech. And we will now proceed. We have Turkan Sheiday Ali. I'm sorry, am I pronouncing it correctly?
Yes, pronounced correctly, yes.
Okay, then the speech is a model for forecasting environmental problems arising because of oil and gas industry. Please.
Okay, first of all, hello dear conference participants, guests, colleagues, and dear students. I'm glad to welcome to the 9th International Scientific Conference on Sustainability in Energy and Environmental Science, which is organized at the Ivano-Frankivsk Technical University of Oil and Gas and John D. Pomeranian University, Poland, as a scientific conference, environment conference. I wish all participants of the conference fruitful work, creative, productive discussion, activity, optimism, and friendly contacts. Our topic of model forecasting environmental problems arising because of oil and gas industry. We offer your work is a joint work of the Ivano-Frankivsk National Technical University of Oil and Gas in the Department of Applied Economics and the Department Management of the Azerbaijan State University Oil and Industry. Our research will carry out according to the data of several deposits on the Republic of Azerbaijan. Now I am share my presentation.
Yes, please.
Just excuse me.
If you have some technical problems, you can share your presentation from our computer. Do you want us to share your presentation from our computer? Miss Turkan Sheiday, are you with us? No, we must have some technical problems, yes. So what should we do? Should we proceed? Okay, then we will try to go back to this speech later if it is possible. And now we, I guess, must proceed with Tetiana Husakovska. Yes. Management of environmental potential of freshwater resources in the conditions of sustainable development. Tetiana Husakovska, are you with us now? I can see you, but we can't hear you. I can't hear you. Can you hear us? We can't hear you. Please try to do something with your microphone. We still can't hear you. Okay, I guess we'll have to go to the next speaker and then we will come back to you when you fix your problems with your microphone, okay? Okay, thank you. The next speaker then is Lilia Skripnik, methodology of ensuring sustainable land use of Ukraine in the context of climate change.
Yes,
Yes.
I'm here. Nice to meet you, dear colleagues. I hope that you are well. So, my presentation.
Yes, please.
I hope you can see now my presentation.
Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
Very well. So I and my colleagues, my authors from National Aviation University and National University of Life and Environmental Science of Ukraine. Irina Matveyeva, Irina Novakovska, Valentina Grasa, Natalia Ищенко, and I. Within the framework of the study of sustainable land use and the consequences of climate change, 4 key areas of interaction between climate change and the process of socioeconomic development of Ukraine were examined, including the impact of climate change on crop productivity in Ukraine, macroeconomic and sectoral effects of climate change, the impact of climate change on the process of socioeconomic development, and changes in land use in Ukraine under the influence of climate factors. In this slide, you can see 2 figures. Figure 1, the change in major crop yields due to warming. The positive effects of climate change is significant warming of the winter months and therefore a reduction of the risk of winter crop freezing. So in these figures, you can see that the positive effects on most crops at temperature increase up to 1.5 degrees Celsius and decrease in yield and temperature increase for more than 1.5 degrees Celsius for crops sensitive to CO2 change, clear regional and spice in terms of crops, distribution of the amplitude of the impact. In the other slide, you can see the geophysical impact on crop yields. I want to note that the impact of climate change on crop productivity can also be determined by the uncertainty of climate change scenarios, a lack of local and regional research results on the impact of CO2 changes, a lack of relevant vegetation maps, and adequate land use statistics, and the usage of different impact assessment methods, as you can see in this figure number 3. In this slide, you can see some figure which that shows the change in land use in Ukraine under the influence of climate factors. And I want to point out that using model tools to study the effects of climate change, namely Globium, which is global and dynamic partial equilibrium model that combines agriculture, bioenergy and forestry as the main sector of economy for which the main productivity resource is land. The next slide, please. The effect of climate change on different industries. I want to notice that Uh, excuse me. The studies process are characterized by moderate positive macroeconomic consequences, the absolute value of which significantly depends on changes in demand for energy resources. In the sectoral context, climate change will increase the output of the service sector in general and tourism in particular. However, they do not compensate for the decline in production of the real sector of Ukrainian's economy. The next slide, please. The change in the level of labor productivity as a result of increasing morbidity due to warming. You can see the temperature, the highest temperature, and the lowest temperature here. In the next slide, you can see negative consequences associated with technological changes and changes in trade conditions. The main benefits of climate change of Ukraine are related to technological changes and changing trade conditions. At the same time, moderate negative consequences are observed for the rest of the region of the world in general. The next slide. You can see the table where we research some characteristics of the main nature and climate factors, influence, and on land use in agriculture of Ukraine. And the application of a comprehensive approach to determine and classifying the impact of major natural and climate factors on land use process in Ukraine make it possible to distancing a block of partially favorable factors. The next slide, we also were considering a foreign experience in adapting land use to climate change. And according to international experience, adapting measures are usually directed in the following areas. Formation of adaptation potential, or abbreviature FAP, reducing the scale of risks and sensitives, an increase of adaptation potential, and enhancing the benefits of climate change. And extremely short conclusions. Climate change is a significant threat nowadays. Deviation of parameters from the climatic norms has quite negative consequences for Ukraine in the future. And therefore, to achieve the strategic goals like agrochemical direction, technological direction, organization direction, ecological and economical direction, we should consider in the general strategic goal. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you for your speech. If someone has questions, please ask them. There are no questions, am I right? Okay, then if you have some questions, you can write to Ms. Lilia Skripnik to the email and discover what you are interested in. Thank you, Lilia. Thank you. And the next speaker is Alexander Plugopolsky, Solid Waste Market Cross-Country Analysis. Please.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
I try to share my screen. If you can see, wait a moment, I need to open the presentation.
Okay, wait.
Can you tell me if you can see my screen?
No, not yet. Yes, we can already see it, yes.
You can see. Because sorry, of my camera doesn't work, but I can if my presentation You can see it's good. Okay, I represent a group of scientists from two universities. I'm Alexander Logopolsky, professor from West Ukrainian National University Ternopil, and here also our colleagues from Kyiv National University named Taras Shevchenko, and our topic is about solid waste market across cross-country analysis. Wait a moment. Can you see the second slide? Because I don't know if you can. Wait a moment. I can't.
You can switch the slides, yes?
You can see only first one, yes?
Only
Because
the first one, yes.
I can manage how to deal with to continue with this. Wait a moment, I need to solve this problem. I don't know how. Wait a moment.
We might try to do it from our computer if you would like.
You can do it from your computer, yes?
Yes, we can put your presentation and switch slides for you.
Okay, that's why I need to share again, because I didn't know if it's possible. Sorry, something wrong.
Okay, then we will try to share your presentation from our computer.
Okay, please share, because I can't do it.
Just a moment, my colleagues will help us. Okay, can you see the presentation?
Yes. You can continue with second one. Okay. According to our topic, intensive consumption of natural resources causes human-made environmental impact, which have the problematic result for living condition and peaks rate for extension of living of human civilization. And please, next slide. When we talk about solid waste, previous one, please. Okay. Our working hypothesis, according to this study, was suggested that several indicators have a significant impact on. Significant impact on GDP per capita, human development index, literacy rate, index of strict environment regulation on the state of management of solid waste. When we talk about solid waste, we can talk that is defined as unwanted solid material generated as a result of human activities. Solid waste is mainly derived from residential, commercial, and industrial operations. And this solid waste market mostly includes organic matter, waste paper, waste plastic product, glass, and metal product. The global solid waste management market size is projected in billion dollars, about 366 billion by 2027. And in our study, we will test the working hypothesis about the dependence of the quality of solid waste management in the country on the level of its economic development, human development index, and strictness of environmental regulations. We took around 99 to 128 features of samples, and also we analyzed a lot of indicators. Next slide. From next slide, you can see that according to our comparative analysis in figure 1, we can illustrate star-shaped icons from different countries of EU, and also the shape of the icon of our country shows that in this respect, Ukraine is similar to a number of Eastern European countries named Poland, Hungary, Slovakia, and Croatia. Next slide, please. From the next slide, you can see that correlation analysis revealed a significant direct relationship between the quality of household waste management, which labeled like WM, and variable GDP, stringency of environmental regulations, human development index, literacy rate, and environment perception index. The highest waste management correlation coefficient was found with environmental perception index, and the lowest one according to literacy rate, just 0.5. Next slide, please. From next slide, you can see that we have figure 2, and we can see the relationship between indicator of quality of household waste management in the country and the indicators of its economic development and literacy of the population. Is probably better to approximate using the non-linear function, and while between waste management and other variables using linear. It's also worth paying attention to the histograms of the distribution of values of the analyzed variables. Next slide, please. Here we can see the regression analysis, and we can see from this analysis 4 constructed models, 2 non-linear and 2 linear, which are adequate and estimates of their parameters are significant. Here you can see that regression coefficient of this model shows that increase of GDP, for example, per capita by 1% leads increase of quality of solid waste management in country by 0.2 points. Increasing the level of environment regulation by 1 point can increase the level of waste management by 22.2 points, and other variables. And my conclusions at our last slide. As a conclusion, I can tell you, according to our research, that our country is approaching the countries of Eastern Europe according to quality of waste management. There is statistically significant direct and close correlation between the level of solid waste management in the country and its level of economic development. And the built regression models and the interpretation of their parameters indicates the need to consider 3 elements of strategy to improve the management of solid waste. We can name promoting economic development, including innovative waste procedure and technologies, improving the legal framework of the industry, and also raising the level of education and environmental awareness of the country's population. Thank you very much for your attention, and be glad to answer your questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Please, if someone has questions. No questions.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And then we have to go back to our speakers that weren't able to present their speeches. We will start with Tetiana Husakovska.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. We can see you. Please.
Dear colleagues, let me present to your attention a report. Talk, just a moment. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Let me present to your attention a report on the topic management of the environmental potential of freshwater resources in the conditions of sustainable development. Can you see second slide?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Today, in the conditions of significant reductions of water resources, there is an urgent need to study the effectiveness of environmental management. Structural shifts of territories negatively affect the formation of the ecological potential of territories. Appropriate methodological approaches will allow researching the greatest impact of criteria on the effectiveness of territories' environmental management, which will enable the formation of development strategies and programs. The substantiation of methodological approaches to assessing the effectiveness of environmental management is very important in the context of sustainable development. We propose to develop methodological approaches to assessing the effectiveness of environmental management of freshwater resources. Methodological approaches are formed from two stages. Assessment of the effectiveness of the environmental potential of freshwater resources of the region of Ukraine as a whole, and Ukraine as a whole. Formation of indicators and indices of the environmental potential of freshwater resources. Calculation of indices of efficiency of the environmental potential management of freshwater resources of Ukraine and the Black Sea region. Calculation of the average value of indices and standardized indicators. Calculation of the integrated indicator of the environmental potential of freshwater resources, weighting standardized indicators. The use of the proposed methodological approaches will assess the effectiveness of managing the environmental potential of freshwater resources of a particular territory and Ukraine as a whole. Thus, to assess the effectiveness of the environmental potential of freshwater resources, we distinguish the following components: bioproductivity, energy, water transformation, and innovation. Indicators and indices of the environmental potential of freshwater resources are given in Table 1. To test the proposed methodological approaches, the environmental potential of Ukraine's freshwater resources management was selected in particular for assessment at the level of the Black Sea region. Indices of efficiency of the environmental potential management of freshwater resources of Ukraine and the Black Sea region for the period of 2015 to 2019 differ on different criteria. Thus, according to the criteria of bioproductivity and energy resources, the highest value is observed in the Kherson region, innovation in the Mykolaiv region. It should be noted that according to the criterion of water transformation, the indicators for the Black Sea region are lower than for Ukraine. Weighting standardized indicators were calculated to measure the integrated indicator of the environmental potential of freshwater resources. Given the equal number of indicators, the weighting coefficient of individual indicators is set at V equal 0.33 and weighting coefficients according to the main evaluation criteria at W 0.25. The results of calculation at two levels of aggregation are shown in Table 3. Based on the data from Tables 1, 2, and 3, the integrated indices of potential components and the general integrated index of the environmental potential management of freshwater resources are calculated, Table 4. The estimation of efficiency of the environmental potential management of freshwater resources in a cut of its component reveals that the integrated indicator of the environmental potential management of the Mykolaiv region is the highest. This trend is explained by the greatest importance of the innovation criterion. increase in expenses for nature protection activity in the Mykolaiv region allowed for modernization of the water supply infrastructure and also effective management of fresh water resources through the implementation of a number of actions for restoration of fresh water resources. All these directions allow the Mykolaiv region to take first place among regions of the Black Sea region of Ukraine as a whole, on an integral indicator of the environmental potential of freshwater resources management efficiency. The integrated indicator of the index of the environmental potential of freshwater resources of Ukraine shows a consistent growth of this indicator, which proves positive trends in the modernization of the network of freshwater infrastructure. It is proved that at the regional level, for the conservation and restoration of freshwater resources, it is necessary to develop an effective policy for managing the existing environmental potential, to develop a concept of overcoming water scarcity, to reduce the ecological and economic risk of impact on the ecosystem of territories, to promote the development of regional environmental management, to ensure fruitful cooperation between public authorities, business, and society for creating a business model of freshwater resource management. Thank you a lot for your attention.
Thank you for timing. And we have one note about your presentation, Marinella Panayotova. She says that her screen is small and she can see the indicators, and she asks that your paper and presentation were sent to her email. So the conference organizers will do it. The conference organizers will send both paper and presentation to Marinella Panayotova. Okay, I have a question to you if you would like to answer it. I'm interested if your research was based on some best practices of the countries in Europe or in the world, maybe. And if so, what are the countries and what are the best practices?
Thank you for your question. Yes, in developing a methodological approach to assessing and determining the components of the integrated indicator, we use including the study of foreign scientists from Europe and from USA.
So both Europe and USA, yes?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Maybe some more questions. Maybe someone has questions. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, now we will go back to our first speech. I hope everything is okay now with the presentation. We will share it from our computer, and we are asking Turkan Sheyday to proceed with the presentation, please.
Okay.
You will have to tell me if you will see the screen we will be sharing.
Yes.
Yes,
I saw.
Okay.
Hello, dear conference participants, guests, colleagues, and dear students. I'm glad to welcome to the 9th International Scientific Conference, Sustainable in Energy and Environment Science, which is organized at the Ivano-Frankivsk Technical University of Oil and Gas and John the Pomeranian University Environmental Science. We offered you the joint work of the Ivano-Frankivsk National Technical University Oil and Gas, the Department of Applied Economics, and the Department of Management of the Azerbaijan State University Oil and Industry. Our research carried out according to the data of several deposits of the Republic of Azerbaijan. Our topic are a model of forecasting environmental problems arising because of oil and gas industry. Next, please. The territory of Azerbaijan, rich in underground and source resources, is also rich in hydrocarbon resources. The development of hydrocarbon deposit in Azerbaijan sector of the Caspian Sea agreed upon in the contract of sanction and gave impetus to joint employment and development with the world's leading oil companies and contribute to the development of oil and gas fields of Azerbaijan. The oil and gas complex has given special impetus to both the economic and social development of Azerbaijan. One of the main tasks facing the Republic of Azerbaijan is to ensure the energy needs of the population, consolidate achievements in the successful development of the economy. However, next please. However, as a result of Azerbaijan's oil complex, environmental problems have arisen a number of extremely important environment-oriented initiatives don't sufficiently cover oil and gas production and ensure enterprises and are mainly focused on enterprise development offshore fields, both independently and jointly with foreign companies. In this article, we analyze the environment and economic risk that risk both during the development and further oil processing of oil and gas fields. The purpose of the study is a development proposed for more effective prevention of environmental risk on the example of some fields in Azerbaijan. Subject of the study is the fuel energy complex of Azerbaijan at the same time issue of ensuring ecological balance. The proposed articles is based on the study of some problems of harming the environment of some fields of Azerbaijan in order to minimize the impact on the environment. Next, please. Result discussion. In the recent years, as in economically developed countries, in the country of the Republic of Azerbaijan, special attention has been paid to forecasting, which is integral part socio-economic management. In our opinion, the structure of the sector forecast units can be presented in the form of Table 1. A scientific technical section of the forecast, socio-economic of the forecast. Next, please. Analysis of the ecological situation at the location of field facilities and study of factors affecting. Table, please. Watch your table, please. Table 1. Yes, environmental pollution and the amount of pollution and the development of forecast of changes and regulatory frameworks, changes the composition and structure of toxin components, characteristics of alternative variants, nature protection measures, the volume of capital investments and operating costs, characteristics of alternative options of nature protection measures, volume of relevant capital investments and operating costs, socio-economic section of the forecast of economic losers depending on the nature protection options, calculation of socio-economic assessment of the result of each option, and the determination of the efficiency of nature protection measures and selection of suitable option, proposal of recommendation of the formation of a plan of nature protection measures that provide long-term goals and standards. According to the structure of the proposed ecology and economic forecasting, it's advisable to classify the methodology of forecasting the technical impact in the field on the basis of two basic principles to determine the scales of interaction with environment to study the qualify of the environment. At the same time, the statistical method can be used to predict the degree of impact of territories on the environment. However, it should be noted that it's not possible to use statistical methods to determine change in the environment qualify. Table 2. Is the identification of factors affecting the environment and the facilities of the oil and gas industry. Second is determination of the scale and type of impact. Third, the detection of trends or qualify changes in this activity of the natural environment. For a study of the scale of damage caused by objects by the oil and gas industry. 5. In identification of situations that may create an environmental threat in the region. Third, Table 3 predicts the economic damage from air pollution using an extended assessment methods. The following indicators should be taken into account. The value composition and composition of toxic substance released in the atmosphere, changing the nature of pollution, forecasting of economic damage. Several forecasting models are used to determine the impact of waste on the environment. One of these models is the separation model, which shows is the dependence of adjective value on value x. Yes. Table 4. Environmental impact assessment of waste. This one is all production value, low costs, and volume waste. The result is a regression model of assessing the impact of waste on the environment according to SOCAR. Data is shown on the table 5. Table 5, please. Based on the result of the program, we receive the following price of coefficients. Using coefficients, our linear regression portion will be taken as follows. This one is follows. As we can see from the above calculation, this feedback relationship between volume of production and cost environmental protection, and the influence of volume of production of absolute terms is stronger than the influence of cost environment protection. This is very conclusion because it shows that more money should be spent on environmental protection in comparison with benefits that we receive with an increase on oil and gas production. Consequently, in the long term, it's economically more profitable to abandon the production of hydrocarbons and switch renewable energy resources. Conclusion. Currently, it's very urgent to reduce environmental pollution by modernizing the oil and gas industry of the economy using the most efficient technologies, ensuring the investment attractiveness of measures of efficient use of hydrocarbon resources, creating a strategic reserve of hydrocarbon raw materials. The most important task in the present stage of development is the introduction of renewable energy resources. It's fundamentally important for Azerbaijan and Ukraine to think their attitude of the nature resources, to transform the nature resource of our countries into a sustainable economic growth as efficiently as possible. In the modern period, humanity concerns a huge amount of natural resources, in particular fuel energy. Among them, especially belongs in oil and gas, which are united by the concept of hydrocarbon raw materials. There are a huge number of problems in the world related to the use of hydrocarbon raw materials. There are political, economic, social, and especially ecological in nature. The article proposed a mode of selecting projects aimed at reducing the level of environmental risk of industrial enterprises. It's clear that the main cause of environmental problems in Azerbaijan is the rapid development of the oil and gas complex. In order to minimize political and economic risk to ensure interrupted and reliable export of natural gas from Azerbaijan in the countries of the continent, it's advisable to have alternative routes of transporting natural gas into taking into account the risk of the transit country. Thank you for attention, please.
Thank you for sharing the experience of Azerbaijan with us. Maybe someone has questions, please. Okay, then we thank
you. I wish you all good health, well-being, and new scientific achievements.
Thank you so much, and you too. Okay, then we go on. Our next speaker is Natalia Fedorova, and she will be addressing structural capital as a factor of technical and technological development of society. Natalia, we can't hear you. No, we still can't hear you. Natalia, you will have to do something with your microphone or with some technical issues because we can't hear you. Okay, I guess we will go on to another speaker. And if you can, please, Natalia Fedorov, fix your problems with your sound, and we will go back to you a little bit late. The next speaker will be Victoria Semenikhina, Waste Management in Local Communities of Ukraine, Problems, Scenarios, and Perspectives. Okay, some sound issues again. Can you hear us? Victoria, can you hear us? You can hear us. Okay. We can hear you too.
Can you see?
But we have some other sounds we can hear. Okay, will you try to share your presentation with us?
Just a moment. Can you see presentation? Now.
Do we try to share a presentation from our computer?
Maybe.
Okay, just a moment, please. Can you see the presentation? Victoria, can you see the presentation?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Then you will proceed with the presentation, but I can see that the sound is really bad. We will try to hear you. Please go on.
Are you hearing me? The line started.
Okay, can you go on with presentation?
Dear colleagues, I want to present the results of our research on the topic waste management in local communities of Ukraine. Problems, scenarios, perspectives. Next slide.
Victoria, are you with us?
Is slowing down. By 2050, worldwide municipal solid waste generation is expected to have increased by roughly 70% to 3.4 billion metric tons. This is due to a number of factors such as population growth, urbanization, and economic growth, as well as consumer shopping habits. Every year, humans produce millions of tons of waste, and this is increasingly becoming a major issue worldwide. With such immense volumes of waste rising, the need of authorities to provide effective waste treatment and disposal service has become ever more important. Next slide. Please next. If the comparative structure of solid waste management generation in Ukraine and European Union countries, we can conclude that in Ukraine the structure is close to Eastern European countries, Poland, Czech Republic, Slovakia, the Baltic states, and others. In Ukraine,
I'm sorry, Victoria, to interrupt you, but we can see your presentation and the slides aren't moving. We have to take your presentation away for our colleagues to put your presentation from our computer. Or
now we can see.
Now we can see the slides moving. Yes, yes, please proceed.
Continue. In Ukraine, only 3.7% of solid waste is recycled and incinerated. 1.2% is incinerated and 2.5% is recycled. In the European Union, the average recycling rate is 60%. In general, the current situation in Ukraine can be characterized as follows. Increase in the specific volume of solid waste management formation despite the decrease in population. Increase in the share of recyclable fraction in the structure of solid waste management, and accordingly the development of capacities in the field of waste processing. Low coverage of the population in rural areas by waste collection service. Currently, two methods of solid waste management with utilization are mainly used: incineration and landfilling. However, incineration is quite expensive and environmentally polluting. That's why solid waste management disposal, either spontaneous or sanitary landfills, is most widely spread in the world. About 74% of the average amount of solid waste management in the world. In table 1 are brief description of the most common standard recycling methods in the European Union, the cost per ton of waste treated, and the technical and economical characteristics of the various recycling methods. Minimizing the impact of waste of the environment is the most important principle of building and sustainable solid waste management system. Possible scenarios for solid waste management can be based on innovative and inertial principles and based on the same assumptions which allow to fully demonstrate the effects of growth in the waste recycling compared to the existing base. The planning period is to 2035, table 2. Today, Ukraine can choose the scenario of solid waste management system development, which is aimed at creating an environmentally safe infrastructure of waste disposal, as well as the accelerated introduction of recycling technology. It is proposed to allocate 3 stages of implementation of the strategy to improve the efficiency of solid waste management handling industry in Ukraine. 1. Preparatory stage, 2025-2027, development and adoption of measures at the national level, and overcoming system barriers. Such measures include the improvement of the statistical reporting system, and the introduction of information and education.
I'm ready.
Place implementation of regional waste management system 2027-2029, creation of appropriate organizations such as coordination against agents and or associations, modernization and construction of new landfills in accordance with European Union legislation, implementation of separate collection, sorting, and recycling of individual components of solid waste. And three states finally, 2029, 2035. Implementation of all necessary market devices at the level of regions and cities as a whole. Evolution of the results of such activities and making the necessary change. Construction of complex reprocessing facilities. Conclusion. Based on the experience of programs in the field of solid waste management in the European Union countries, we can identify factors that determine the period from the time of decision making to achieve the targets set out in the laws and the strategic documents. Development and implementation of new economic and institutional mechanisms at the regional level. The rate and scale of accumulation of funds within the framework of the established device of financing of the industry. The scale of attraction of private investment, deadlines for construction of facilities and allocation of land pilots for them, development of experience in applying new approach in the process of implementation of pilot projects and in the mode of limited functionally, especially in relation to certain types of work. The impact of their factors should be considered when developing a strategy for solid waste management at the national level and identifying priorities at the regional and municipal level in the large cities in our country. Thank you for attention.
Thank you for presentation. Please, if someone has questions, ask them. Okay, then we thank you, Ms. Victoria Semenichina. Yes, thank you for your speech and presentation. And now we go back to Natalia Fedorova. Can you hear us?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
At last.
Natalia will be, will be telling us about structural capital as a factor of technical and technological development of society. Please.
Okay, now I'm sharing my screen. Can you see my presentation now?
Not yet, no.
I'm sorry for these technical problems. Maybe you can help me with my presentation.
Yes, of course. Just a moment, please.
I try once more.
We will share it from our computer. Just a moment, please.
Now maybe I manage it.
Yes, you did. Yes, we can see it.
Okay. Hello, dear colleagues. The topic of our report is structural capital as a factor of technical and technological development of society. Modern economy moves rapidly towards a radically new model of the development based on knowledge, information, and technological innovations. In contrast to previous eras,
Dalia, I'm sorry, we can't see your presentation. I have some separate screen with the title only, but we can see it from your computer. Yes, okay, try to switch slides, please.
Okay. In
Yes,
contrast to previous eras, where the formation of new technological methods of production was based on a small number of breakthrough inventions that changed the structure of production, today we are witnessing an avalanche of inventions, the products of which destroy the stability of all spheres of society. The shortening of the life cycle of generation of equipment and technologies and the pulse like nature of the cyclicity of innovative renewal of production require innovators to respond almost instantly to changes in the global market conditions. In this context, human capital is acquiring special importance for the provision of high and stable rates of social and economic development, as this factor of production is the one that immediately produces new knowledge, generates new ideas, creates and implements new technologies. Thus, under current conditions, strengthening of the critical mass of human capital becomes the basis for the increase in national welfare and progressive advance of the countries. In modern conditions, not only intellectual potential but also other components that make it possible for companies to maneuver in their innovative development become rather important. One of those components is represented by structural capital, which Thomas Stewart determined as the organizational skills of a company to meet the market needs and includes into the patents, license agreements, technologies, management systems, technical and software support, organizational structure, culture, etc. As Stuart said, actually, the structural capital ensures the company's ability to unite and use individual knowledge and abilities of its staff in terms of common activity. The intellectual capital itself is of low value without the effect of attraction of the company's structural capital. Taking into consideration the fact that this object is being actively studied by modern economy, its content and methods of calculation are being constantly improved. Along with that, at the macroeconomic level, structural capital is rather a disputable issue. There is no unified view in terms of its qualitative and quantitative parameters of measurement. There is also no clear understanding of its interconnection with national human capital. So, in this slide, we can see a purpose of our research. It should be emphasized that understanding of the essence of structural capital and its feeling is not unanimous. Along with that, we are sure that the composition and quantitative indicators of structural capital should be in compliance with the essential feature of this phenomenon, that is the infrastructure of formation, implementation, and development of the national capital existing in the concrete society, or in other words, organizational and institutional systems of the expanded representation of knowledge and skills of the society members who favor really and potentially the national economic development. We consider that the greatest quantitative content of the proposed indicators of the structural capital measurement is peculiar for the data of the World Intellectual Property Organization that published annually the Global Innovation Index. In this slide, we can see a composition of the National Structural Capital Index and its components from 26 countries. Numerical values of the proposed sub-indexes were selected from the report of the Global Innovation Index during from 2018 to 2020 and used to calculate the National Structural Capital Index for these 26 countries. Two criteria were the basis to sample the data of these countries. The first one is the level of economic development, and the second is the level of their innovations. Besides, the sampling includes some countries that have overcome certain transformation of their economies from the centralized plan type to the market one. This table shows the values of the integral estimation of the National Structural Capital Index for 26 world countries. And the next slide shows us graphical representations of this index. It's a dynamic of National Structural Capital Index within the period from 2018 to 2020 for 26 world countries. As the figure demonstrates, Switzerland, the Republic of Korea, China, Sweden, the USA, and Singapore are the world leaders in terms of the national structural capital parameters. If we compare the positions of these countries as for their success in technical and technological development, we will make sure that structural capital matters. From the viewpoint of dynamic of the National Structural Capital Index, considerable growth of its value is peculiar for the National Structural Capital of the USA, the Republic of Korea, France, Japan, China, India, Poland, and Ukraine, that, as it appears, form certain potential for faster rates of innovative renovation of their economies in future. So, as a conclusion, as the practice shows demonstratively, it is the improvement of the national structural capital infrastructure that is one of the most important prerequisites for preservation and improvement of the national competitiveness. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you for sharing it with us. Then we have questions. Yes, do we have questions? Okay, you can send your questions, or if you are interested in this subject and you are seeking for cooperation, you can address the email of Natalia. And now we proceed with Natalia. Thank you so much. The next speaker is Marinella Panayotova.
We have questions.
No, as far as I can see, we don't have questions. No, we don't have questions. Thank you, Natalia.
Okay.
So next speaker is Marinella Panayotova. And the presentation is a new concept for carbon dioxide elimination from combustion plants with gases.
Yes, but can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, but I cannot probably share. I cannot.
Okay, we will do it from our computer.
Is it possible? Yes, not to waste time, simply.
Yes.
Thank you.
Just a minute, please. Okay, can you see the presentation?
Yes, thank you very much indeed.
We are listening to you.
Good afternoon, dear colleagues. First of all, I would like to thank the organizers to the possibility given to us to share our research and for the help now with the presentation. As you can see, our presentation concerns carbon dioxide elimination from flue gases released by combustion plants. Next slide, please. Next slide, please.
We can see the next slide. Don't you see it?
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay.
The world needs energy for its development. The humankind requests energy for its everyday life. Many efforts have been placed worldwide to develop and implement renewable energy sources. Some examples of renewable energy sources are given in this slide for 2020. Although the growth of renewables is expected to account almost for 95% of the increase in global power capacity through 2026, it's clear that for the present and in near future, non-renewable energy sources such as coal or petroleum will remain at least over 1/3 of the world energy source, and one of their main uses will be in the electricity production by thermal power plants and in transportation. Next slide, please. However, thermal power plants are source of different pollutants, among them such as carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, sulfur dioxide, and nitrogen oxides. For example, on this slide, you can see the emissions of sulfur dioxide upper left, CO2 upper right, and nitrogen oxides bottom left due to the electricity production by thermal power plants in the USA for the period 1990-2021. And at the right bottom side, you can see how the concentrations of pollutants were changed in this period. As you can see, there is decrease. Probably you cannot see, but there is decrease in the concentrations of sulfur dioxide and nitrogen oxides, but this is not the case with the carbon dioxide, which remains at a relatively high level. Different approaches and technologies for carbon dioxide capture and sequestration have been proposed, tested, and applied with the aim to mitigate the problem with the release of CO2 by power plant, such as chemical absorption by liquids, for example, aqueous amine solutions, which is mentioned commercially available technology for carbon dioxide capture. Absorption is considered as promising technology for CO2 capture, as any power plant can be retrofitted to use it. If the adsorbents are prepared by utilizing waste materials or cheap natural materials, for example, zeolites, the absorption process could be potentially sustainable. For example, some zeolites have shown high CO2 uptake. However, zeolites are sensitive to moisture, which results in a significant decrease in their CO2 uptake capacity. Use of membranes for CO2 capture and separation with the aim to store it underground or to use to enhance the recovery of oil from depleted reservoirs is also at least studied. However, sometimes storage and oil recovery using CO2 can cause negative effects on groundwater quality. The concept of CO2 capture and utilization has also been raised. The strategy is to integrate CO2 capture and its conversion to useful products such as fuel and various chemicals in one stage. It is argued that at the current technology development, the role of carbon capture and storage can be significantly greater than that of carbon capture and utilization in achieving the goal to decrease the amount of CO2 in the atmosphere. Cost of needed hydrogen and the necessity to use more efficient catalysts have been indicated as barriers to CO2 utilization through the production of fuel. Here we propose another concept for carbon capture and utilization. Instead of carbon compounds to be produced, solid carbon that could be further utilized to be liberated as a result of carbon dioxide transformation. Next slide, please.
I'm sorry, Marinella. We have here the fourth slide. Are we correct, or we have to move?
No, they are 10.
The 10
two times the presentation, yeah.
Okay, we will. Yes.
Yeah. They're there.
I'm sorry.
The fourth slide. It is known that some metals, for example, iron, can be obtained by reduction with carbon. The process leads to CO2 release. Of interest would be the possibility to return the process back to carbon and other solid materials that can be utilized. We can search for such substances, and very useful in this way so-called Ellington diagrams. It is the left side of the slide. They give us idea for such substances. According to these Ellington diagrams, the aluminium, magnesium, partially manganese and zinc, and even tin and iron to some extent can be pointed as affordable from economic point of view metals that would be able to bring to bind CO2 via reactions described in the table in the slide right table. The possibility for such reactions can be checked with the help of chemical software, and changes in Gibbs-free energy and the equation and the equilibrium constant of the corresponding reactions are calculated. Reactions are probable when the change in Gibbs energy is negative and the equilibrium constants are positive. Next slide, please. It's difficult to be seen in the figure probably, but we have gathered two slides. For example, slide A. 1A is 1A1 and 1A2, and they show the change in Gibbs-free energy. It is negative in most of the cases, and the equilibrium constant, which is positive in many of the cases, so showing that the reactions are possible. And figure 1A gives actually the results with respect to CO2. Figure 1B gives the results with respect to CO, carbon oxide. Then the third figure gives the data about sulfur dioxide, and the next give results about the nitrogen oxides. And actually, the conclusion from these figures can be that aluminium, magnesium, manganese, and zinc may bind oxygen from the CO2 and carbon dioxide. All of the metals can bind the oxygen from nitrogen oxides, but only magnesium works for sulfur dioxide. Next slide, please. And so experiments aimed at proving the concept of the possibility to decrease the concentration of CO2 and other gaseous pollutants from TTPs via reactions with some metals were conducted in homemade installation comprising a 4-stroke gasoline engine that drives 220 volt alternating current generator, red one in the picture, and the reaction chamber. An additional adjustable supply of CO2 and sulfur dioxide from gas cylinders to the chamber was provided. The flows of the generator exhaust gases, CO2 and sulfur dioxide additionally added, mixed in the system right picture. In order to react more fully with gases, the studied metals have to be as fine powder. For our experiments, we grinded suitable metal or alloy rods that were fed into the reaction zone in order to produce powder in situ. This way of powder production avoided metals preliminary oxidation by air. Our preliminary experiments showed that both with respect of powder production and pollutants concentration decrease, it was better to work with alloy with at least one hard metal as support instead of with single metals. Iron was used as supporting core. Additional explanations why are given in the paper. Over stoichiometric amounts of the metals were used. In addition, experiment was conducted in another lab where a mixture with proper composition of metals in powder form was converted to low temperature plasma state with the aim to decrease the amounts of used metals to around the stoichiometric ones. Next slide, please. Results from the experiments with two alloy compositions and a mixture of metal powder when plasma was used are presented in this table. Average data from two parallel experiments give every one of the figures in the table. Additional analysis of gathered powder material gave approximately 42% magnesium, 31% aluminium, 14% carbon, and 11% iron. The solid product could be further utilized by hydrometallurgical processes. Data presented in the table, together with the content of the solid material, in our opinion, prove the concept of the possibility for decreasing the concentration of CO2 and other gases released by TTPs via reaction with finally dispersed powder mixture of specific materials. Next slide, please. Based on the thermodynamic considerations and the results of the experiments carried out, it could be stated that a possibility exists to decrease the concentration of CO2 and other gaseous pollutants from thermal power plants via reaction with some metals and their alloys. Solid products are forms that could be further utilized via hydrometallurgical technologies. A new method is proposed at conceptual level and tested for treating the polluting gases from TTPs that may be considered as another variant of carbon capture and utilization and deserve further studies. Next slide, please. Thank you for your attention. We are nearly convinced that it is possible to be done in another way, absolutely new way. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your thoughts and ideas with us. And if someone has questions, please ask them. We don't have questions. Okay, I can see that some questions are asked in our chat. So if for some reason we were not able to give you word or you were not able to ask your questions, you can write there and our reporters will answer you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And by now we have moved to our last report of this section of the conference, and it will be delivered by Darina Skorokhod.
Good afternoon. We present with my colleagues research about development of the environmental market in Ukraine in the strategic perspective.
Can you share your presentation with us?
Yes.
Okay.
Just 1 minute.
Okay, Darina, we can see.
Okay. Transition to sustainable development requires improving the quality of the environment and the quality of life in the population. One of the areas of environmental safety is the formation and development of environmental entrepreneurship. Environmentally oriented production and the sale of environmental goods and services is a promising and profitable activity. The environmental market is a complex, open, dynamic system of social, ecological, and economic relations that arise between its entities in the processes of producing organic products and providing ecological services. This market developed. The main functions of the market for ecological goods and services you can see on the slide. In our opinion, the market of ecological goods and services in Ukraine, despite the backwardness of similar markets of developed countries, has an extensive infrastructure and a wide range of services. Its capabilities allow domestic enterprises to use innovative mechanisms and tools to make a qualitative assessment of enterprises and develop more effective environmental management strategies. In the developed countries of the world, the market for environmental goods and services has been formed long now that ensures the development of the economy and society. The world has accumulated a wealth of experience that indicates the vital need to develop a market for environmental services and significant real benefits for companies operating on it. Dynamics of organic market development in Europe and Ukraine in 2020 is presented on the slide. It should be noted that over the last period of time, the European organic market is developing dynamically. Estonia, France, and Belgium are the leaders in this field. The market is characterized by a steady increase in the area used for organic production of agricultural products. The highest share of consumed environmental goods and services among traditional products is observed in the markets of Denmark, Sweden, and Switzerland. Per capita consumption of organic food has doubled in the last decade. According to the organizations that keep the statistics on the production and sale of organic products, the area of certified organic lands and farms in Ukraine is increasing every year. So the area of agricultural land allocated for organic production has increased from 164,000 hectares in 2002 to 385,000 hectares in 2019, and the number of certified according to international standards. Producers for study period has increased by 20 times from 31 to 617 respectively. In 2020, the number of operators of organic production in Ukraine increased by 17%. The number of organic product processors increased by 33%. The number of producers who already have a labeled organic product to offer a final consumer increased by 7%. Taking into consideration the experience of European countries on the development of green economies, the priority areas of green growth in Ukraine include the formation of programs to improve energy efficiency, development of renewable and alternative energy, introduction of resource-saving technologies and environmentally friendly production, creating a favorable investment climate for the development of green business, introduction of ecological innovations in order to ensure the ecological security of the country, development of the market for ecological services and creation of an information base on the provision of relevant services. The scatter plot of and the number of certified producers of organic products, which shows a linear relationship between these factors, is presented on the slide. This is confirmed by the value of Pearson correlation coefficient, which determines the degree of linear relationship between two variables. The scatter plot between the consumption of organic products on the domestic market and the area of agricultural land allocated for organic production shows the lack of strong linear relationship between these variables is presented on the slide. This is confirmed by the value of percent coefficient that is 0.40. The relationship between y and x is present but not linear. The shape of the scatter plot of consumption of organic products and the capacity of the organic market in Ukraine, which presented on the slide, indicates a linear relationship between these factors. Pearson's correlating coefficient is 0.96 and shows the relationship between these factors by 96% is due to linear forms with a positive slope. Comparative characteristics of models of consumption of organic products are given on the slide. As we can see, the highest value of the just coefficient of determination in the model with the three variables without a constant number. Therefore, the use of the inverse method of model selection is stopped. The strategic direction of development of organic products market in Ukraine you can see on the slide. So the development of the environmental market depends on the formation of public demands for environmental work, services, goods, equipment, technology, quality, environment, and equality system of nature management. This is a common task assigned to the state, public, and business systems of environmental management at all levels in the context of European integration. Ukraine has a great potential for the development of the environmental market that in its turn will increase the competitiveness of domestic enterprises in European markets. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you for your report. So if we have some questions, you can write them in the chat, or do you want to ask them, please? Okay, so by far we have fulfilled our program for today. All the speeches have been delivered. So on my part, I would like to thank you for your participation. I would like to wish you to go on contributing to global science and research. And even if the times are hard, like now we have in Ukraine, because research and development and science are truly the things that can make the difference. And I wish you all fruitful, active, and productive discussions for tomorrow. Please remember that the conference goes on tomorrow. Please follow the agenda of the conference for tomorrow. Please, everyone, be safe. Take care of your loved ones, and good luck to you all.
Thank you so much. I'm so it's problem my computer. Glory to Ukraine.
Glory to heroes. Okay, goodbye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.